Bitch, this you?
Was poppin', was poppin', was poppin'. Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And welcome to the live show.
Hello.
First and foremost, shout out to you for watching this live or watching this replay. Second, new episode dropped today, episode 133. We interviewed this amazing person. We didn't interview nobody. Moose interviewed this amazing person that you may know, that who is talking right now. But you should go check it out. I'm not going to say too much, but it's an amazing episode. So go check that out. Of course, if you are here to support the channel, there's a few ways, okay? If you're watching on YouTube, definitely go check out Super Thanks and Super Chat. And if you're watching this on Facebook, please hit the stars. Moose, how are we feeling?
Man, I'm still thinking about the salmon that I just had coming in here. Feeling good though.
Shout out to the salmon.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was some good salmon. No, man, feeling good. Things are going really well. Just excited to be picking up some momentum. Hopefully this time next week you won't see such bad bags under my eyes, because I'm looking at them like, dang. You seen that Kevin Hart? We were dying laughing this past weekend. You saw the Kevin Hart interview when he was like, "How old are you?" He's like, "I'm 56." He's like, "Dang!" Oh,
yes,
sorry.
Yes, yes.
That
was a classic moment.
Yeah. So yeah, no, things are well, man.
That's good. For me, I'm chilling. You know what I mean? I'm chilling out here. A lot to talk about. A lot of things happening on social media. A lot of things happening in AI. A lot of things are happening, and it's only Tuesday, and I'm very confused.
Seriously.
But that means we just have a lot to talk about between here when we record the podcast, all these great, amazing stuff on social media. So yeah, and then also slight plug, go check out Creator Ave. Okay, check that out. It's audio only. It's actually, if you really pay attention, it's a replay of some of the best lives that we've done, but we've narrowed it down to probably about 25 minutes tops. So you get the hour-long stuff with our podcast, but you get a really quick lessons for our 2025 on Creator Ave. So go check that out. But Mush, what are we talking about?
Yeah, man, I've been just as crazy about the AI news and movement, like you just mentioned, as it relates to everything that's been happening this week. And I think I've started to build up over the last several weeks, to be honest. So I'm really excited to have this discussion today, where we're just gonna have an honest conversation, man. Does AI have the power to replace your brand? So we're just gonna lay it out here early and get to it. But as we get there, man, I see you guys in the chat. Shout out to everyone who is checking in with us. Let me know how you feeling, though. Seriously, give me a 1 if you're feeling good. Give me a 2 if you're like, it's Tuesday. It's been a rough week.
It's Tuesday.
If it's been a rough week, that's okay. Let's acknowledge that in the chat too, man. But definitely give us a quick check-in. Let us know how you guys are feeling in the chat. And please do share this too. I think it's going to be a really good conversation. I'm always excited because I tend to be the one who fights off anything, right? I'm just like, nope, I don't want to do it. I am not interested. I think it's bad. It's going to suck. It goes against everything that I already know and feel comfortable doing. But I've fully embraced AI in a way that is almost surprising to me. So I really think it's going to be a great conversation for us to come, and discuss this a little further. But I see a 1.5, because, Fatima said 1 and 2. So I guess it's a little bit of both. But yeah, let me know. Okay, we see some more ones coming in now.
Yeah, ones are there.
Okay, good, 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 good. All right, just had to make sure. I'm like, oh man, we feeling a little down this week, but nah, let's keep pushing it, man. Let's keep pushing it. So, Nix, I
What's
want
up?
to, the first thing that came to my mind as I was thinking about this, I said, will and bear with me, but will AI make people dumber? Right? I was like, yo, I gotta
Hmm.
have this conversation because if all the work is being done for you and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to critically think as you once had to for just even the most basic of things, what will that do over time when you're not stretching those same mind muscles, if you will, right? So that was the thought that came to mind. For those of you unfamiliar, I'm going to pretend as if, maybe some of us don't know, but AI, or in short, artificial intelligence, really uses data collection to be able to think in place of humans. So
Right.
it's helping you to automate and maybe even generate a lot of responses way faster than you normally would have, because it's not just a general Google search where you might say, what is Nicky and Moo's podcast? And it might just maybe pull up some of the links in the social media. Chat GPT or some of the AI, and there's a lot of different tools out there, but Chat GPT, at least in particular, will come out and give you a description. Well, Nicky and Moose is this, and then it'll give you like a whole rundown. I actually got to do that. What is the Nicky and Moose podcast, so we can see
Oh,
what
they
what
have it.
AI says about
They have
us.
it there.
Oh, they do.
Some,
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. They have it there. So we have a mark. We have a mark.
I love it. I love it because from what I've seen is it's everything 2021 and before that. So not 21 and so anything after 2021, I guess, is not really included in
Mm-hmm.
that database. But anyway, in short, that was one of the things I wanted to start the dialogue. I definitely want us to dive into how will AI hurt and even help brands and businesses. We're going to get into that tonight as well. But I just want to start with that. Is AI making people dumber? Because over time, you don't have to think or work as hard, because everything, literally, when we talked about things were at a click of a button, now things are a prompt away from having everything to a Drake and the Weekend song that was pretty dope, actually.
Really
So
was.
yeah, I want to know your thoughts on that, man. Does it have the power to really pull people away from, you know, just that natural intelligence that they might have had in the past because they're not thinking as much?
So I have a question to your
For
question.
the question. Okay.
I have a question to your question. Is it about being smart or is it about being resourceful?
Talk about it. Talk about it. No,
So,
yeah.
so let's think about it like this, right? Uh, I remember, I remember when we had the calculator transition, where you had to learn at a certain age to do it without the calculator, and then the calculator came in play,
Mm,
right? Now, it's great to understand the foundation. However, do we really go back to the foundation? Like, meaning, if someone was to hit me with a 20 times 40 divided by 4 plus that by 22, hit that with a times 100, like, do I get, is it about brownie points that I can think about that and really come up with that from my head and be like, oh my God, somebody goes like, yo, you're smart? Or can I
hmm
give you the answer in 2.3 seconds? Which one's better? If any is better. Or does it matter that we just get to the answer?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm looking at certain things of this. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't necessarily think that it's going to make us dumber, but I do believe it's going to make us more resourceful. And
Mm,
so with that, so when you know how to get to the information quicker, some of the information is going to be absorbed by you anyways, right?
right.
Now, granted, we're not in that phase just yet where AI is doing everything. So there still has to be a level of, I gotta see if this is valid or not. I got to see if this makes sense in this scenario or not. Or is this they completely off? Because AI is sometimes completely off, depending on what the questions you ask. So that level of decision making and showing off your experiences is still there. But for me, and for anybody who's listening, my question would be, is it really the flex of being smart, or is it the flex of being extremely resourceful?
Yeah, no, and I see both sides because I just think of natural human laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I know. I like to live a principled life, and I always remind myself that the reason why that's important, it's because there are universal laws all around us that if you don't pay attention to, you're going to become extinct, or you're going to just decrease in your overall performance, effective wellness, health, happiness on every end of the spectrum. And so we know that you could be the greatest bodybuilder of all time, but if you stop working out over time, it may not be right away, it might not be in a day or a month, but in a couple of years' time, your body will start to take strides back and be maybe a little bit more fluffiness. You might start to see some things that are different than what it was originally. And so I'm thinking
That's
about
my
it from
fluffy
that
people.
standpoint. I mean, just gotta keep it
You
real.
can't speak. You
But
can't speak, Muff. You can't. I said, please
I'm
don't
not.
do that. Don't
I'm not.
you dare.
I'm not making fun of the. I'm not making fun of the fluff. I'm
No,
just.
I
I'm
thought you
just
were shouting
expressing.
out the fluff people. I was like, you cannot shout out the fluff people after your interview last
Oh
week, and
man.
Isaiah puts up those pictures. This man,
Right.
my man is in the gym. You see all different types of muscles. No fluffy people even understand where that even what exercise did you even have to do to get that particular one.
Oh
No,
man.
no, get out of
Oh
here.
man. I got to give another example. You see, now it's like I got to talk about something totally different so that this conversation stays relevant. You see, when in your finances, no,
There you go. There you go.
yeah, in your finances, it's like no. But I just think of it from that standpoint, and I think about like, man, if we don't have to wrestle as much, will we lose a step? And honestly, I agree with what you're saying because you can always argue and say, well, the person who was not looking to cut corners originally from the start, they're
Mhm.
not going to miss a step because it's only going to make them that more effective. Where
Yes.
I don't have to waste time doing the tedious parts of a particular project or task, and I could just get to the nitty gritty and get to it right away. Now,
Hmm.
for others who don't use it appropriately, and I know that sounds crazy because it's really just a series of prompts or what almost feels like a digital conversation, but the machine is now able to give you some more dynamic responses. If you don't use it wisely, I do believe that you're going to start to see some decline in intelligence, in just that sharpness that we might have, because instinctually we have to survive out in the world. And so when our environment becomes easier, it just happens. People just become a little bit more comfortable and lazy. So I'm looking for that part of it. And if you are kind of in agreement with what I'm saying, I still don't think, and this is why, like I wanted to speak on this because literally it's almost against what I would normally say or feel about such a technology. But even if you agree with what I'm saying, here's what I'm saying to you: this still doesn't mean that you should not be involved or using the technology.
Hmm.
Really, what I'm saying is, even if you can see and agree with the points that I'm making as it relates to if you don't use it, you lose it type of mentality, I'm still saying go out and put in the work to study how to use it properly so that you gain advantages of all the benefits that come with it, and none of which maybe the harm that might also be associated with the use of the technology. Right. So I do feel, because how will two people use the same exact resources made available to them, but one might become more intelligent and one might maybe decline in that category a bit? I think it's, if they're both have access to the same exact thing and they have polar opposite outcomes, then clearly it's about the usage of it. So that is definitely my take on that. It's like, even if you agree with the dangers of simply having things being handed to you, I don't think you should stop using it.
Yeah, we have to somewhat shape or form add AI, and it's already being used some way, shape, or form in everything that we're doing, regardless if we're being intentional about it or not, right? It's going to get to a point where every system, everything, Amazon just came into the game with their AI. There was another one that came into the game. Man, I forgot. But Amazon for sure started, I think it was today or yesterday, they started to announce their AI products. Every brand that we love, every brand that we use is going to have AI. And if we use those brands, we're going to be using AI. Now, we're talking probably more from a producer standpoint, us doing something and creating something from AI. But this is going even back to we are both consumers and producers. And for us to be getting really ahead of where this world is going in this season, AI is where it's at. You know, me and Moose were watching this episode with, what is it called? It's like four really rich guys talking about
Yes.
tech in a very
Billionaires.
yeah, it's really rich guys, right? I think it's, let me look up this name. It's like All for One or something. It's all
The
something.
All In podcast.
There he is. All In podcast. Really good podcast if you guys want to geek out for a second, right? It's extremely geeky though. It's extremely. But there's a particular part that I actually sent to Moose that I really love, that it was saying, hey, you know, I don't see down the line where businesses that have about 40, 50 people is going to need that anymore. We're going to see $1 million businesses being built with 3 to 4 people. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to that. I'm almost going to say that I haven't probably scaled the way I needed to scale because I was waiting. God was putting AI in my life for a reason. You feel me?
I like that.
That's what I'm saying. But that's just where it is. Even from we look at different things that our brand needs, right? We're talking about customer service. Customer service, there's chatbots now. You data dump all the things about your company, about your brand into this chatbot. This thing can take care of all your customer service, right? From a social media manager, AI can do that because it could come up with captions, right? It's going to get to a point where it's going to create the content and come up with the captions and post it for you. That's where just kind of where we're going with it, right? Then, of course, we got like market research. You know, AI is taking care of that. Something that you would literally dedicate a person to, hey, look this up, look that up, and it takes a matter of seconds, right? And these are some of the things that are now starting to be those top things that are going to get replaced in your brand. And that's not a bad thing. It's not saying replace like completely gone, but replace by something that's going to save you time, save you money, right? Almost get better results than humans to a certain point. Because it's not a matter of they go purely based off facts. My concern is those positions that are still going to need some decision making based off different instincts and based off maybe a bit of feelings. I would say that's my only concern with that. But when we're talking about things like those jobs that I talked about, those are things that are going to get replaced.
It sounds like the Elon. I feel like I heard Elon talk about this to some extent, where he says, "Well, if more people don't have to worry about doing things that they dread, they'll be happier, right? Which I agree, because let's say you love content creation, but you absolutely despise having to write captions and respond to comments and repost who might share your stuff. Now imagine down the line, AI can help you to manage those parts of the task.
Mm-hmm.
I can see people becoming significantly happier because they don't have to worry about the things that they're not good at. So I do see the acceleration of purpose to some extent. The balancing act, though, and this is the part that I can't stop thinking about, is how can you utilize the technology to its most, say, effectiveness, but not allow that human experience or that human touch to go absent? Because there's always two sides to look at it. You might say, well, as the technology increases, more people will say, man, I miss that human interaction. So it makes it more desirable. Or others might say, actually, it wasn't even needed to begin with. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm always wondering about, okay, how can I maximize the benefits of it, but not overlook the experience? I mean, think about how many times we've talked about the reason why we favor brand A over brand X is because brand A has a phenomenal customer experience. The way they treat you, the way the store smell. Like, I went to the Apple store on Fifth Ave here in New York. I mean, I walked in and I felt like I was walking into a forest that was up to date with all of the greatest technology. It smelled amazing. It had the best lighting, and it has the best gadgets on the planet. I'm just like, dang, I could never walk away from Apple, right? Like, they got me so hooked because
Right.
I just love the aesthetic of their brand and how they do everything. And so I'm just saying, now, can you imagine going so deep into the technology that can you really say that we won't lose pieces of the customer experience or that humane touch when we're that reliant on something that even makes the work that much easier and all of these different things?
So I here's my take to everything that you just said. I don't think certain human experiences are going to go away, right? But I do believe that when we're talking about, for example, some business decisions, right, within our brands, sometimes are extremely emotionally based, right?
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so for those time frames, right, that is extremely emotionally based, it would sometimes be great to have AI to be like, we got this one. Don't worry about this. Like, based off these particular things, right? This is the decision you need to make. This is where we can literally have business as business. It's just business. Literally. It's business and facts. Right? This is where we could play that role. Now, for a holistic brand, right? For a brand that is truly trying to embody the business side and the community side and the impact side and the monetization side, there still has to be that experience. Now, the experience can be enhanced through AI, but it cannot be completely replaced through AI. So what was it? Man, let me find it. But I posted about that Drake and Weeknd song, and it brought in so many different people's thoughts and opinions on it. But in that post as well, I brought up some, like, hey, this is how you can also leverage the AI as an artist. So, hold on, here it is. So I said, I think artists should embrace AI instead of running away from it, such as Personalized song versions. An artist can use AI to generate different versions of their songs based on a listener's preference or emotion. For example, an AI system can create an upbeat or a melodic version of the song depending on the listener's mood, or tailor the song's instrumentals to the listener's favorite genre, right? Fan collaborations. Artists can invite fans to collaborate on new music using AI tools. So even with the fan collaboration, it still needs a human. Like,
Yeah.
let's use these tools together. When we're talking about actual in-person standpoint, like, maybe there's going to be a point where it's a more personalized shopping experience, more personalized selections. Maybe the lighting changes based off how you come in. You know, there's a different thing that pops in the screen. What was it? Delta. I think it's in Detroit already. I don't know, but where, like, it only shows your airline information, like your connections, all that. You see it once you pass through here. It's your stuff. I think that's where we're going with AI, from a in-person, still talking about community and impact and still talking to the people. But I do believe from the brand, the business side of the brand, I think there will be some decision making based off certain facts that needs to be in place, because sometimes humans are not the best when it comes to business. Sometimes our feelings do create extra drama, stop some type of scalability, and just sometimes just make the wrong decisions because they feel this is right.
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 times it's not. So, I mean,
Yeah, I shared with a group of our coaches yesterday. There's a tool called Rationale that allows you to think through the decisions you're about to make so that you can make better decisions. It actually creates pros and cons list for you. It helps you to think through almost the outcomes before they actually occur so that you know what to expect. It helps you simply to make better decisions. And in my mind, I'm saying, man, imagine how many more, or how few mistakes would occur if somebody would be able to think about their decisions. Now, again, it's still a little inconvenient, right? Because I don't know the functionality. If I'm in a conversation with Nicky and I'm about to make a decision, I don't know if I'll be like, "Oh, Nix, hold on a second. Let me just pump this into Rationale
oh, I
real
will.
quick."
I will.
Can you imagine, like,
I
but
promise you.
but look, that would take away from the human experience.
I would
That's
be
exactly what
recording
I'm
it.
saying. That would interrupt. Now, of course, I think you're right. Like, oh, I almost put out my idea. That's my $1 billion idea. Let me hold off on that. I'm gonna hold off on that. I'm gonna come back to that a little bit later. But let's talk about this one thing that they did mention in the All In podcast, which is that when good and evil have to exist in everything, right?
Okay.
I kind of alluded to it a little bit when I talked about, laws and duality and this whole concept that there's a yin and a yang. They always exist together. And so if there are people that are going to use the technology for good, there are going to be people who can use the technology for bad or for evil as well. So they used a crazy example and they said, imagine, and why not, if the technology is so powerful, why wouldn't someone who has whatever intention says, hack every airline or every active plane and make sure it doesn't get to its destination? They use like a crazy, freakish example. I don't know if you remember
Right.
that part of the podcast. I was like, yo, that's scary. Can you imagine that the technology does have the ability to go out and be able to hack whatever service or whatever technology is out there and reroute or make planes not get to their final destination? Or they even used other examples of creating, I think, fake websites or other fake accounts that start to steal people's identity. And then you can literally just demoralize them by simply putting out some of their most private and intimate secrets to the world by you having them fall into those traps. So they were saying that because of that, it's important to control the technology and not let it run on its own. Like someone asked a question earlier, and I know we'll get to some questions later on. They talked about the difference between OpenAI and ChatGPT.
Yep.
And, so it's like, even as it relates to that, these are some scary examples to think about. Like I'm not that kind of person. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never, not once, thought about, what would the worst thing that could happen destructively to the world or to the universe by the use of AI? I never thought about that. When I listened to them talk about that, that was some scary stuff, Nick. I'm not gonna lie, because to think that that's some stuff you saw in movies.
Yeah.
This is like some iRobot stuff, and shout out to Will Smith, one of my favorite actors of all time. But this is like some iRobot stuff coming to life now, where you have to go out here and beat the very thing that helped you to make your life that much easier. What's to say that won't be somewhat reality?
So,
What's your take on
yes.
that? Like control or no control of the technology?
Here's the thing. Someone is going to have control of it. Now, it always goes to, in anything, who has the right intentions. There's already scams out there of people cloning voices and that whole nine, right? There's already that. You give the wrong person the wrong power, it's going to go crazy. Absolutely. We can't stop that. We can't honestly stop that. Technology is not slowing down. So it's now just a matter of showing more and educating people more of what it's supposed to be used for and how to use it, rather than oh my God, what if this? What if that? That's the world of an overthinker. What if this happens? True. What if that happens? What if the world ends today? Do we blame AI? Why? Like, did a button get pressed somewhere? Like, in this topic, me and Moose always switch our optimistic ways. In this topic, I'm very optimistic because I see the good that it can do for people who are growing brands, people who are growing a business, people who are overthinking and don't know how to start a business, start a brand, get caught up in certain ideas or certain decisions and just need these particular things to be done for them to fully understand it. So I think there's a lot more good, and this is where you always have to outweigh the good and the bad. Now, my overthinkers will be like, but the bad could be this, that, and the third, and then, like you said, AI could press a button and the world blows up.
Facts. Not yet, people. It's a hypothetical we're talking about. Like if the thing gets so powerful, but
yes, yeah. Okay. Or worst case scenario, just like how Moose says, AI gets the air traffic controller and all the planes go in different directions and then they all crash. That can happen right now with malfunction. Right now. Like, that's just. But mind you, I'm an optimistic person. I'm the person that's like, shout out to all the fitness trainers and everything. You got to live a healthy life to live longer. Skinny people die yesterday. What are we talking about? Like, some skinny person died. They got in a car accident. The natural causes. Like, what are we talking? I'm not going to sit here and like overthink things. I'm just going to live life. I'm going to use AI to what I feel it needs to be used for. Now, that's the thing. Everybody's an individual. So they may use it for these particular things, depending on your environment, how you were brought up, your mindset. I'm going to use it in order to scale, in order to come up with new content ideas, in order to replace certain tasks or roles that I need within the business. One, to definitely give me back my time. Two, to see a new world that maybe I wasn't necessarily seeing because I was only subjected to certain YouTube videos based off the algorithm, certain things based off social media algorithm. But now I could type in something and it fully gives me the whole scope of things, and I think that's going to change the world for the good than necessarily the bad.
Yeah, let's switch gears and talk about brands that could be replaced as a result of this. I know I saw something that said some 300,000 jobs will be lost in the next 10 years as a result of AI. Now, others will also say, well, again, just going back to the law of duality, if something will be lost, then something is to be gained, right? And we know that as early as heck 2 months ago, we already started to see that there are prompt engineers that are getting hired for some 300K a year, like an annual salary of $300,000. And so we already are starting to see the what's lost, what's being gained. But can we stretch deep enough into brands for a moment and say, here is maybe some type of impact that you might experience as it relates to your brand or your business as a result of AI becoming more prominent in the marketplace? Because I know we talk about it from specific roles and responsibilities, like you mentioned, as it relates to what we think about as a job. But I think a brand or a business, to some degree, it's like the mom and pop shop that we know can sometimes take a hit or a bigger hit during some recessions than maybe some of the white collar jobs or white collar corporations, simply because they're bulletproof, they're that much bigger. So I think in the digital space, the brands and businesses, especially those who utilize the online space heavily, they are the small business, the SMBs of, like, the, what do they call it? Main Street, right? Like the difference between Wall Street and Main Street. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the digital small business. It's the personal brand and the small businesses that utilize the online space. So I'm thinking, do you think that there are, or can you think of any personal brands, types of personal brands, or even digital businesses that might really be in trouble as a result of AI coming to the forefront?
Um,
Like
Off
low key, I
top,
don't know why I thought about meme pages. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I thought about meme pages. I was like, yo, imagine somebody just set up a joint and it's like posting 3 to 5 quotes every day. Memes is
that's
done.
possible. That's very possible. That's
Yeah.
very possible. I don't, I don't know necessarily about the personal brands that are going to be replaced, but I know one that I'm hoping is going to be replaced,
Ooh.
and that's tax preparers and that whole
Damn.
situation. Okay.
And it's tax day. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. I do. I do. Where's my? Yes, there it is. I do believe that I'm hoping that there is an AI. You just drop everything, and it goes through all the laws, all the loopholes, all not just based off what that person knows, but just overall, and then go, nah, you do owe this amount, or nah, you don't owe this amount at all, because once again, you are subjective to the knowledge that you know about these different topics. And so
Dang, that's
we
such a good
lean
point.
on expertise like that. And so now, if we have a tool that is fed with all the tax laws and things like that, I don't have to rely on human expertise for something that can get me to go to jail.
Damn, that's such a good point. I really didn't think about that. Because you know why? What came to mind now is that education can honestly be equal for the first time ever.
Yes.
Like, you know how we always say, oh, well, everyone has access to different levels of information. Well, it's true. Yeah. Depending on where you grow up, whatever financial class or status that you belong to, you're going to have access to different things that others may not have access to. But with something like this, the technology, as long as you have access to the internet, and I mean, it's pretty popular, at least, of course, in the Western world. I mean, I know that there are There's a couple of billion people, believe it or not, which is still crazy to imagine, but there's still about 2 or 3 billion people who are still not on the internet yet. I know that sounds crazy,
Really?
but yes, there's still like 1 to 2 billion people who are not even on the internet yet. So that's kind of crazy.
My grandma.
But
Shout out to grandma.
that's messed up. Oh man. But no, but that's a great point. I can see that as I really didn't consider that because yeah, someone put financial advisors. So like yeah, imagine someone
I'm looking forward to that.
yeah, all of those people who it's no longer a secret as to what is the best way to grow your money, protect yourself and your interest and your families and all of these different things. I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that.
It's a need.
So
It's a
so
need.
it seems like people who are not information providers, but I guess you would call them that, information providers, consultants to some degree, because we're not trading a physical product in the marketplace to make money. So I guess people like me, low key, like the consultants
Oh,
like myself,
here you go. Here
we
you
might
go.
we might no, I'm still gonna utilize it. But I'm just saying, if you know what though, but what I will say is if I am a business owner today and I am a heavily service providing business owner, a large degree of my income comes through providing of services. And as we're having this discussion now, it's allowing me to see the importance of having to sell physical products as
Mm-hmm.
well. Because if I can, and you know, I'm always a big fan of this, diversify my portfolio to some extent, to at least some degree. If I can diversify and not have to only be someone who's relying on having to provide information, well, now if I provide a physical product to some extent, and I'm not saying be in the same industry, I probably have to integrate into a different space to some, capacity or whatnot. But the good thing is I can now maybe leverage the robotics and some of the other things that are coming to the marketplace and expand and protect my income that way instead of having to rely on my thing. As you can see, folks, there's a level of open-mindedness that you got to have. Isn't that one of the principles from Ray Dalio? Be
Mm-hmm.
extremely open-minded or something like that.
Yep. Radically
Yeah,
open-minded.
radically open-minded. Look at that. There's a level of open-mindedness that you got to have. I know for sure people who fight these technologies always end up losing. We've seen so many examples of it throughout the history of time. Even if you go back to like the agriculture movement, like people wanting to fight to stay with the things that have made them successful, that eventually the next generation is just not as interested in the one to come. There are so many studies now, and this is unrelated to AI, but it just shows you the passing of the baton and why it's necessary. They say that there is 10,000 boomers that are retiring, business owners that are retiring on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are business owners that are retiring, but because their kids grew up in the social media era or their children grew up in the social media era, they have zero to little interest in taking over the family business that's probably in industries like construction and plumbing and painting and car washes and laundromats. Like, what kid do you know today is interested in taking over that kind of business? Very little, right? Like, I don't want to be in that. I want to be on TikTok dancing and making my content and being an influencer, at least striving toward it to some extent. And so my point is, even with that, it's created such a large gap that is one of the greatest areas to secure wealth right now, because there's a wealth transfer there where there are more business for sales than enough people who want to buy them or even know that this opportunity exists. So it just expands your mind around, man, the generational shifts create opportunities that the longer you fight them, the more you fall behind. So I see it.
And I think the winning factor is still creativity, right? So while you were talking, I was trying to see what, like, Amazon dropped a few AI things, but one of they dropped is Amazon Code Whisper. Build applications faster and more securely with your AI coding companion. And it's free for individual use, unlimited code suggestions, reference tracking, and 50 security scans. Not really sure what that means, but it sounds great. Meaning, the people who are going to win, especially for something that like coding and developers, which we're paying so high and is needed for the most common people because we're in a technology world, to where now it's almost an even playing field, like you said. But those who are going to win is going to know how to be creative with the code and knows how to direct it in a certain kind of vision that it needs to be. So if you could code, you could code, right? If you're just that super analytical and be like, cool, I'm coding. If you want this, I could create this. But I think those that are going to stand out in this AI world is if you can be creative with the resource. And how do you get, and this is why some of these AI businesses are starting to pop up, because it's the, how do you take the problem, but how do you make it a creative solution as well as a user-friendly solution? Because as we're seeing how AI is evolving, it goes from something very plain and blah, like ChatGPT, to now we're seeing way better user interfaces. We're seeing, things that are just a push of a button, or at least a platform that can now be mobile. Now there's different apps that are coming out. Now there's something that is all in one central location instead of going to all these different places. So those that are going to be winning, and just like how in my episode, creativity creates income, this is where that truly applies when it comes to AI. How are you thinking about, even from a product standpoint, right? There still has to be a level of AI in the background, whether it's inventory management, pricing projections and those things in the background with AI, but sales and leads, how are we intentionally, going back to what you said, maybe not necessarily staying smarter, even though that's very good. I'm not saying get dumb. That's not what I'm saying, right? Not saying get dumb. But how are we getting more creative with the new resources?
That's a fact. That's a fact. Hey, y'all, if you're tapped in with this, man, and you want to drop some questions, please do so now. We'll go a couple more minutes and then we'll start answering some questions here. Because I saw a couple that popped up. I know Marshall got one right there about
Yeah, I got
business-specific tools and
4
all
in the
that.
queue.
Yeah. So if y'all got some more questions, so just start dropping those questions in the comments there. We'll start getting to you now and really building off of that. But as you were talking, I was like, man, maybe service providers just need to become AI consultants. Maybe the new job is helping businesses integrate AI in the most effective way possible to resolve a lot of those issues.
I text you that. I didn't sound that I didn't sound that saucy, but I definitely text you that.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm like, man, maybe there is still some life at the end of this career after all, because it's still
So you got to think
information
about it
based.
like this, not to cut
Yeah,
you off, but there are so many people, so many moms and pop stores that still need help with social media.
that's a fact. That's 100% true.
They don't know how to integrate some things that have been so there for us, right? They don't know how to integrate it. Now you're thinking about a lot of people, not just moms and pops, a lot of people not knowing how to integrate AI into their business. So the person that can help them with that, now that everybody's talking about it, they're going to get paid a good amount because it's
Good money.
going to save them money and time in the long run.
Hey, listen, folks, if you're listening to this and you want to join the Nicky and Moose AI integration consulting firm, please send your resume to Nicky@deeperthanthebrand.com. Again, that's Nicky@deeperthanthebrand.com. We are quickly hiring for positions. That's a really good. I'm gonna look into that. I'm not even gonna lie. Shout out to this live for integrating or inspiring an idea.
Listen, we could test it out. and
No,
start
no.
with home. Okay, the home court, because I already have ideas.
Yo, that's a viable business idea. That's what's up, man. Shout out to everyone who's tapped into this and probably got a little bit of game. And I hope y'all got some inspiration as to maybe some of the ways in which you can do. You see, again, that's why it's good to have these conversations where you're not fighting the technology. When you fight the new, you miss out on opportunity. Somebody tweet that and give me credit, please. When you fight the new, you miss out on opportunity. That's right. That's right. Oh
Please
man, I
tweet
love
that,
it.
and then definitely tag me in that.
Yeah,
Tweet
yeah.
that
Just
and
give me a
tag
little
me.
credit, at least the first time. Yeah, Nick, let's get into these questions, man. Whenever you're ready, I'm good.
Got you. All right. So, first one up, and you mentioned it a little bit. Question: what is the difference between OpenAI versus ChatGPT? Real quick, OpenAI is the company. ChatGPT is the product. So they
Hmm.
also have different products like Jukebox and Playground, some other stuff. Dolly 2, that's one of their products. But OpenAI is the overall company. So any of these things that we're hearing is because of OpenAI, and they're really rich right now. They're really rich. Just
Yeah.
saying. Here's a good one. What are the new jobs that are going to replace what AI takes away? Whenever process comes in, whenever progress comes in, opportunity follows. And opportunity follows. That was like a way you were saying it, but he said it a different way.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think that's some of what we just talked about here, that maybe the consultants who are providing maybe everyday information, like we talked about bookkeepers and maybe even some accountants, because that knowledge is going to be pretty much public knowledge for everyone that have equal access to the tools. Maybe it's more of let's help. The consultants are going to be specialists who help businesses to integrate the AI. I mean, think about worldwide, or forget worldwide, just the US alone. I mean, this country thrives off of SMBs or small businesses and big business. And I don't think it's ever going to stop. And so having companies that just fulfill that need, I think that's going to be a huge need. And then, of course, we also saw, we talked about it briefly, those prompt engineers, people making huge amounts of salaries because the one thing that I'm realizing now is that the way you talk to the technology trains the
Yes.
technology, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure even as it continues to get more advanced, it's going to learn how to mimic you more and more. So you can teach it about your thoughts and your philosophies and values and beliefs. So I think now that I'm saying it and really just hearing myself talk out loud, that that's probably one of the ways that we will protect that humane experience that I was talking about, or saying could go void. Uh, it's because as the machines get better at learning us, we may be able to protect that humane experience after all. Now, again, you're always on the threat of a malfunction, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to stay positive on this one.
There we
Nick's already
go.
told us.
There we
Nick's
go.
already said it.
Then we got Marshall. It says, so how do we keep AI from placing a new, oops, let me go back. Hold up. Replacing a newer, smaller business? Are there specific tools and skills that a person needs to learn? Moose?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one, I always address the mindset first, and then we can talk to the external skill sets after. But the mindset is don't fight the technology, because I'm realizing, and shout out to so many wonderful resources who've talked about this, but this thing has gotten better. Oh, actually, we heard it on the podcast. It's gotten better in 2 or 3 months, or I think 4 months,
Yeah.
in what Apple has done with the iPhone in 10 years.
Yeah.
And so that tells you the world, at least in this category, is moving so much faster that if you stand back, like, nah, I think this is just a phase. I don't want to be involved. I'm afraid. I'm this, I'm that. You're letting that train pass you by more and more. So as a new business who, who needs to capitalize on every competitive advantage made available to you possible, if you delay your start because you're fighting the involvement or the integration, as a better way to say it, I think that alone will already put you in a bad spot. But more to dive to it now from a skill set standpoint, the one thing I've been studying is how to create better prompts. There are some I think it was, I don't know if it was 90 Keys or who said this, but that the more intelligent people are going to generate more intelligent outcomes. It's like if you put in good, that's what you're going to get. And so if you can learn how to produce better prompts, you're going to get better results or better outcomes from the technology. And so that's one of the things that I've been studying is how can I best communicate with the computer, with the technology, so I can get the best outcomes. And I think that's a good skill set now from a business standpoint to have, because now you can start automating or really replacing a lot of the SOPs. That's the one thing in a few of the businesses that I'm involved in. That was the first thing that we started to improve and to try to completely wipe away is the kind of like this autonomy around SOPs and how things should be done. Especially when you think about how most humans flow, a lot of them, because maybe they don't enjoy doing the boring parts of the business, they tend to want to leave a level of creativity or flexibility in there so that they don't get bored doing it. But if you can automate a lot of that, you don't care about whether or not it's boring. You just care that it gets done in the most effective way possible. So the next thing I would say is having some really solid SOPs that you're utilizing the technology for. That's another way. And again, that's an integration piece, so it's a little bit more advanced. But in that order, don't fight it. Learn to create or generate better prompts. And then eventually start delegating some of those low-level tasks that are mad boring. Shout out to the New Yorker in me.
Mad boring.
Yeah.
Mad boring. Listen, people, this was a great convo. Shout out to everybody who dropped some questions in the chat or in the comments. If you're watching this replay, do me a favor. If you are going to take AI a little bit more serious, if you're going to find different ways of how you can leverage it for your brand right now, and so when it gets to those points of certain things being replaced, you're actually ahead of the game, just type in me, right? Either in the chat, in the comments, just type in me. If you're really going to take things serious and really figure out how to be more effective with it, how to get your time back, how to save money, how, and just literally how not to be replaced. Because I always say that, the factory workers, some of them got replaced once all this machinery came in, but the person who knew how to press the button didn't. That's so right. We got to learn how to be the person who presses the button. That's it. We will always be valuable if we know how to do that.
Yeah, it's that simple.
You know what I mean? So we are out. Listen to episode 133. But if you are a video person, which I'm assuming you are because you're on this live, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, we drop the full episode on YouTube, video version. Right there. Shout out to our guy, Isaiah, who always makes the video experience amazing. Okay. So shout out to you. Thank you, Moose, for this great conversation.
Likewise. Yeah, this was fun.
And you know what we're going to say?
Peace, y'all.